You're right, absolutely right. So we have this layer perspective. Yes, and already the first round of discussion was about the layers. Yes, Luc was proposing the economic layer, and then there were other layers, historical layers and cultural layers. And yes, so there are these different layers working in different directions. Yeah, because there is no, well, at least, especially in this in-between spaces, yeah, your region, if it exists, it's an in-between space. We don't find easily all these layers together in different sort of ideal space. So how do you get to a workable space, which in a certain sense is effectively democratically legitimated, bringing these different layers together? You're working quarters, yeah? You're organizing, you're studying social movements in quarters, planning it. So what's your experience in these, how do these layers come together? Is there some sort of hierarchy between the layers? Is there?
I just jumped into your process with the region, your region, and so. Really, I think it's necessary to differentiate those different layers and perspectives, and to have a scheme to generally to have an order to put these arguments in the right box, for example. This is one thing. But the other question, how does it really work? And seems to be a little bit, I cannot answer it in a positive way. But for me, I think, as I followed the discussion 1 hour before, this regional thing is something bottom up. This was one part of my title of this speech. It's something bottom up, which means it's not formal, it's informal. But what maybe you are aiming at with this map seems to be something formal. It's reliable, it fixes something, and on the other hand, it prevents this bottom-up development. I think there's a contradiction. I'm not sure how to solve it, but for me, it seems to be a contradiction.
Okay, so if we have too strong a search for strategic maps, that is in the danger of destroying the kind of everyday bottom-up energy which is there, because you're experiencing the region. Your free time recreational activities take you to the region. Yeah. So is that your storyline? If you try to fix it too much?
This fundamental question, is such a region, or your region,
yeah.
Is it necessary? For me, it seems to be answered before. I'm not sure how to answer. I'm really, but because I just mentioned at the beginning, Cologne is a strong regional or metropolis. How do you want to call it? Brussels as well. Yeah. Are we content with this situation? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, really.
Okay. Are we content? Are we content? I mean, is Hasselt content with the situation it is in at the moment, or is there something to gain from thinking about a EU region?
Let me start by saying I'm an invader.
Sure. We're all invaders.
I was not born here. I came here in 2002. And just to add something to what you said, that might put it in another perspective. I was born in Kortrijk. Sorry. Yeah,
yes, to be there. For the cameras, yes, that's true.
For the camera.
Yes, sorry.
I am,
yes.
Camera.
You are.
I was born in Kortrijk, and now the area Kortrijk-Rijssel is taken for granted that it is a metropole, that it is a region. I was born in 1962. I have never been to Rijssel until 1992. So I was 30 years old when the first time I crossed the border. My parents did never. And I remember in 97 or 98, one of the first connections, one of the first layers that was there between Kortrijk and Rijssel was a cultural layer. There was a mobility of audiences between theaters. That went on for a couple of years, and then came in the politicians, the second layer. That was just before the elections of 2000. And then came in the economics. And now it's really a kind of political, economically structured region. So I think there's a kind of interconnection between all the layers. Fact is, when I came here, I saw a lot of, what you said, a lot of different potentialities on a cultural level, on an economical level, on environmental level, whatever. There is only a very partial interconnection, because even in your map, with all respect, but I saw you don't come to Hasselt. And it's the same for me. I mean, I go now to Liège, I go to the Netherlands. Very rarely I go to Aachen. So there is a lack of interconnection between the different things. And with the artistic team, when we started 2.5 years ago, I remember that we had the idea, in a city, you have a concentration of all these powers, of all this energy, also cultural energy. Can we define the regio as a city that would help us? And we were looking, and that connects to you, to that big narrative of the regio, and we didn't find it. What we found was a nice narrative in Maastricht and a nice narrative in Aachen. Let's say a new chapter from 2000 onwards in Hasselt. And I think, thank you. I think Liège is redefining itself for the last years, so they are starting a new chapter over there. So you had a kind of book with all different chapters, but there was no book, there was no story. And I think that's a very important thing. So where is that interconnection between these things, and what of these layers can be the engine to start the whole thing in process?
Others? Yes, please.
This may be a bit flippant, but I think this kind of ties into it. I think one very important moment may be reached, and I understand that in Kortrijk, for example, that happened, is when young people realized that the nightlife in Rijssel and Lille was actually far better than anything they could have within kilometers, even, well, up to Ghent. And of course you could say the same is probably true. The best nightlife here, well, if you want to experience something, I guess you have to go to Liège or Cologne. And that is often, you know, the first step towards understanding that there's actually something else behind that next border.
So actually the region starts somewhere in people's free time activities and their hobbies and their sort of cultural orientation in a certain sense.
Yeah.
Is that what?
Referring to my colleagues, social scientists, who say that Richard Florida says jobs follow people, and people go into places where they can live culturally, with culture, with facilities and chances to live a private life, and then this region will be strengthened by following jobs. I don't know whether this is a real thesis that works, but I know that a lot of other regions think it works, and they do so. For example, if this economic thing doesn't work at the moment, or this knowledge thing with the universities that you mentioned, I think it's a lack. For me, it's a lack. I know that Aachen University Faculty for Architecture doesn't offer any English-speaking lessons and so on. And if this would be the first thing to get in connection with other universities from Hasselt, for example, or so on, I think this cultural thing is a very good first step to improve life, and in this way, if this thesis of Richard Florida works, to throw things after one after another, which follow them.
Okay, we have a visual comment. Could you?
I also have to explain them. I thought I just draw them. No, this was the layers. Do we impose layers on people, or that we do we let people compose the layers themselves? That was the only thing I tried to visualize.
Yeah. The point seems to be that people create many layers, and and then what sort of layer is in a certain sense coming on top of the hierarchies, etc., etc.